Hey there, everybody. Robert Taylor with Wonderscape Creations, continuing on with another episode for the Narrative Pro series, specifically with gas and the attributes and everything that goes along with gameplay effects. So, in order to mess with executions, we have to modify something within the plugin. And I'm only doing that to teach you about this execution calculation. And we're going to want to make sure that it mirrors it in damage to exactness. Um, so the first thing we're going to do though is we're going to create the execution and then the execution calculation, and then we will go ahead and verify that it works and get it connected where it needs to so that we can show everything working. Um, the class is going to look very familiar. Right now, everything we have is for the narrative damage exec calc. We're going to ignore that for now. Hopefully, down the road, they will make theirs expandable. That way, you can add your own stuff in there. For those of you that don't use the blueprint attributes, the gameplay blueprint attributes, which is what makes this possible again. So let's create a new folder called exec calcs. And we want a blueprint execution calculation. Select EC. Example calc is what I'll call it. Not a plus sign. And we'll open it up. And the reason I said that it'll look a bit familiar is if you look, we have the relevant attributes to capture, and we have an override for gameplay effect execution calculation that looks very much similar to what we did before. There are quite a few differences, and we're going to go ahead and go over all of those differences now. First thing we want is to get our relevant attributes to capture. And this is where we will be grabbing some target information as well. So the first one is going to be attack damage. And it's going to come from the source and snapshot it. And with the plus sign again, this one will be attack rating. Source, snapshot it. This next one is armor. This will be the target. We're not going to snapshot it. Now, before we continue, I do want you guys to understand that I went through, read the C++ to make sure that I had everything that's within their C++ gameplay effect that they've created, their narrative one, and made sure that it works to exactness. So 1-for-1 on the damage, and we'll be able to show what that damage is once we are completely and totally done. Again, I'll move the return node down here. So the first thing we're going to want is the sequence node. And we want there to be 4 pins again. Okay. The next thing we want to do is we need to get a bunch of variables made. So we're going to get the execution params, pull out of it, get source tags, and promote to local variable. We'll name it source tags. And then we want this execution param again, get target tags, promote to local variable, target tags. The next thing we will want is yet again to grab this, attempt calculate capture attribute magnitude. And we will grab our relevant attributes to capture. And the attribute is attack damage. Now, I'm not doing anything to make this modular. This is just so that you can learn about the executions. You can see what's there. Then you can start playing around with it and make your own based off the attributes you decide to make. So this is very much hard-coded right now. The example of the mod mag can help you see how you can make it more modular and usable from child to child and instance to instance. Which point now I'm going to come over here, pull out of here, promote to local variable. I'm going to name this one attack damage. Then we want this again. This time it's going to be attack rating. Promote to local variable again. Attack rating. Copy and paste. This time we want armor. And again, promote to local variable. So now that we have this, we're going to plug that in right there. I'm going to bring this down a little bit, reroute node to clean this up. Select it all, move it. C for comment, make local variables. There. So now we have our local variables. We have everything that we need for math. Next thing we're going to do is we need to create some multipliers. So let's get our attack rating. And first, we're going to find the max. We're going to put the max in here. I don't fully understand what max is, but it's utilized in the code. So that's what I'm putting right here. And then we want a divide, not a minus, a divide. We're going to divide it by 100. And then we're going to add 1. And once we do that, we're going to pull out of here and promote to local variable of attack multiplier. I'm going to plug that in right there. And now we need the defense multiplier. So again, we're going to pull out the armor. We're going to search for max. Then we will divide again by 100. Then add 1. Promote to local variable for defense multiplier. Perfect. Place the reroute node there. Comment, create multipliers. Move that over here. And now we need to do the math for the damage. Excuse me. So for that, we get the attack damage. And we multiply it by the attack rating, which I believe with how we have it set up makes it, we're multiplying it by 1.03 to increase the damage by 0.03. And then the way they had it was divide by the defense multiplier. And that gives us, we set this as a local variable, the local damage. That one I chose to name local. Do the math for damage. Then lastly, there is something that we currently cannot do because it has not been exposed. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. Come over here, search for physical materials. We have our character. They have created their own damage multiplier to place on physical materials to further increase damage if we want to in some way or shape or form, which is fine. I get it, but it can't be accessed in Blueprint. I've created a bug report for it. Hopefully they will get that added soon. I want to show you how to find it. So we want an execution parameter. And then we get effect context. Then we get hit result. And we break it. And we cast to the narrative physical material. This is what's needed to complete the equation, because they then multiply it by this number, which right now, as you saw, was 1. So it wouldn't make any changes. But this variable not exposed to BP, so cannot utilize this functionality in BP until exposed. Like I said, I have created a bug report for it. If you want to upvote it, you can go and make a comment and whatnot, do what you want to get their attention a little quicker. Hopefully it can get added before the next update. It's just a simple blueprint read only added to the U property. That way we can read it. But then you would plug this in right here, because we had local damage. We would plug that in right here, pull out of here to get the damage multiplier, and then multiply it by the local to get the new local, and we would be good to go. And now we need to apply the damage. So we will come right in here, add output modifier. I'm going to pull out of this, do make gameplay effect custom execution output. And they are doing this to damage, not attack damage, damage. And they're adding it, and it is local damage. Now, do math for damage right here. If you were wanting to add a critical chance and critical damage modifier, you would do that here or here. I wouldn't do it here. Essentially, if this is ever done, then you would attach this and then do the crit stuff. Come over here, and it's actually very simple. We have the local damage. Let's get a multiplier. So let's say the multiplied damage is, let's go crazy here, is 80. So we don't actually want 80. That would be insane. We want 1.8. The next thing we want is we're going to right click and do select float. Place that right there. And that into B. Let's move this. And then we get random float in range. Min, the max is 1. This is just how I chose to do the range. You could have between 0 and 100 if you wanted to. And I'm going to come over here and do a less than 0.25. So this means I'm making it to where there's a 25% chance to crit. And if it crits, it will do 1.8 times the local damage. So now we need to set the local damage based off of this crit chance. So this is the crit chance. This is the crit modifier. And now that's set. Now I'm going to disconnect it for now because we first want to make sure that everything is working as intended. To do that, we have these test dummies here. So we're going to go ahead and open up their blueprint and then open up the BP attack dummy blueprint. So we have right here the damage. So we're going to get a print string. So it's still plugged in right there. And we're going to print string that damage. Compile and save. We hit play. Pull out our gun. When we shoot, you'll see in the top left, we're doing 14.42 damage. Awesome. Obviously, if you don't want the 0.42 or whatever, you would do some sort of rounding decision, whether you round up, round down. That's completely up to you. But we're not here to do that. So now that we know how much damage we're doing, we need to make some changes. So we need to search for the GE weapon damage. So if we come here to our content drawer, come down to the plugins and then Narrative Pro content, and search for GE underscore weapon damage. Here we go. This is a gameplay effect that has an execution that plays the narrative damage exec calc. Now, if you recall, when we do damage, we do 14.42. So now, if we change this calculation to the one that we just made, and you're using the Blueprint Gameplay Attributes plugin, it should work. We're going to come in here. One second. I'm going to pause real quick because for some reason it's not damaging. So silly me, I made this, but I did not connect it to the return node. Kind of important. So we're at 14.42. And when we shoot, for some reason, the number's not working as it should, despite my documentation. Give me a minute to confirm a few things. You guys may have caught it, and I didn't. I used the attack rating instead of the attack multiplier. We want the attack multiplier. So go ahead and hit play. Now it should say 14.42. There we go. 14.42. Now, the multiplier, for those that are curious, compile and save. We're getting 25.955999. So it is increasing. And if we were to go long enough, we would be, 25% of the time. So that's how you add randomization and crit chance to it. So that is everything for the gameplay effects. Like I said, we had to change the GE gameplay effect weapon damage, which affects all of the current weapons in order to show that it works. I wouldn't recommend changing anything in the blueprint itself. I mean, the plugin itself. So I would actually recommend you make when you don't do this part until you're making your own weapons. That way, you can make your own gameplay effect that attaches to the abilities, that attaches to this gameplay effect with your weapon, so that you can do the damage with your own custom calculation. And that is something we will dive into once we get into abilities, to where we add our own gameplay effects to those abilities. Just know for now that for execution calculators, that's what they're for. They're for us to, after the fact, not before the game starts, like with everything else, but after the fact, we add things like crit chance, or like, for in this example, crit chance, or if you wanted to make it to where the damage is has a range that it goes between to add or subtract a little bit, so the damage is actually randomized. Um, for that, you could do random float and range. Literally just copy, paste, and say 5 and -5, and then add it to it and set it as the new local range. That way, you could have randomization to the damage being done each instance as well. There's a lot that you can do only within the execution calculation. Um, so this is where you would be doing a lot of your alterations, based off of stats that are determined in the moment instead of upon applied. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week when we dive deeper into the gameplay ability system, and we will be touching base a little bit on abilities. I'm just not 100% sure yet on which ones. As I said, I'm trying to make sure that I don't um, do videos that I know will change within a month. Obviously, if it comes down to it, we'll go into those things. Just understand that there may be changes within about a month's time frame when the update comes out, and that's just part of the development process. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next week.